Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now.
And here we are moving and grooving with all of you on Ann Does Fantasy Bettor. Myself, Lisa Ann, and my co-host Howard Bender are going to help you make some big decisions for this week coming up in the NFL. Howard Bender, my friend, I love to watch you jam out. I love to listen to you on the air. And I especially love when I listen to you with Andrew Cooper, who kind of slow rolls jokes to you and the way he delivers them to all of us as a listener, same. You take a moment and then it's very funny. He's a funny guy.
He is a funny guy. I absolutely love working with Andrew Cooper. I mean, we bring it here on the Fantasy Alarm Network YouTube page and the Better Sports YouTube page when we do Alarm Fantasy Football. He's got jokes. Kids got some moxie to him. I dig that for sure.
And he's a poker face too, because you don't see the joke coming. What he's saying is very serious to you. That he allows you. He's very Larry David-ish.
Ah, look at that. Look at that. We were just talking about comedians on that show. I'll let him know that you think he's more Larry David ish. I prefer to be more Anthony Jeselnik like.
Okay. Well, let me tell you what, every time we hear this intro, here we go now, I got to tell you a funny little anecdote. For many years, when I would go to clubs in the Northeast, when anybody would say my name, they would say Lisa Ran. Lisa Ran, Lisa Ran. So I would always ask the DJ as he said that to me, I said, always say to them, where did I run to? And they never really understood what I meant, but it was like my ongoing, I'm in the Northeast. This is my personal joke with the DJ. It's not as much of a personal joke to you as you cannot understand how James Harden cannot find the perfect Cinderella shoe to fit his lovely large foot.
Dude needs to cut the big toe off, right? Isn't that what the ugly stepsisters did in order to fit the glass slipper? They like chopped off their toes.
Oh.
I don't understand James Harden. I really don't. And I don't listen, like I don't have insights into the NBA that you do. You follow the sport a lot closer. All I know about James Harden is that, he goes where the best strip clubs are, right?
Which is not Los Angeles.
It's not Los Angeles.
No.
Well, then I don't know what he's going to do there. I mean, he might as well just go back to Houston. Maybe he plays for the Atlanta Hawks.
He's already signed with the Clippers. What are you talking about?
I know he did. But see, so I don't really, well, help me understand this about James Harden, because he's popping from like super team to super team, and there's always an issue. There's always a problem.
And in the NFL, we would call this a journeyman. But for somewhere in the NBA, because he's choosing it on himself, I guess it's not really a journey, right? A journeyman is when, like, next thing you know, this running back pop. Oh, Justice Hill is back up. Okay, who is he with now, right? So it is interesting, but James Harden knows he can do this. And the reason he's doing it is because he can. And it works every single time. Now, what he did to the Sixers by going out when he was speaking in another country and talking about, the owner, and that he would never work with him again because he was a liar. Like, I guess that's all you got to put out there for it to have the exodus that you're looking for. It is bizarre, but I will say this. A friend of mine who is trying to offload a very unusual and specific home in Los Angeles was hoping that James Harden would get traded there because he feels James Harden could be a buyer. So my first text after the James Harden trade was to my friend like, bro, I hope he buys your house. You know what I mean? Like, that's the best excitement I have out of this trade. I hope he buys your house.
You should message Harden and be like, "Oh, get off of Zillow right now. I got a spot for you."
Believe me, Harden ain't on Zillow.
Really? Thanks, Lisa.
But it is bizarre that it is allowed. And it's one of the things that the NBA does very differently than any other sport. We're starting to see it in NFL, but it doesn't seem to work. It doesn't stick. These players can scrub their social media. They can put out the disclaimer of why they don't want to be there. What ends up happening? They do a Zoom meeting with other running backs. They eat a piece of humble pie and they go right back out there and put on their cleats.
Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should scrub Fantasy Alarm off of all my social media. Like all of a sudden, like, right? Is there a super team in the fantasy industry? I mean, besides Fantasy Alarm, I don't think I want to go to another super team in the fantasy sports realm. I think we're good right here.
I think you're good right here as well. But it is a fascinating thing that we've watched happen. I mean, if you remember, there was the ongoing jokes before he went to Brooklyn because it looked like he was wearing a fat suit and then he lost like 30 pounds overnight.
Yeah. There's so much about it I just don't understand, because you know what the thing is that because super teams don't work all the time. Like, I don't even know. Who won the NBA championship last year?
The Denver Nuggets.
Was that a super team, or is that just Nikola Jokic being the best?
It was Nikola being the best, but the entire team was just the energy with the team and how they played for each other and how they played together was just very different. I don't know if I told you this, but I took on January 21st of last year, after going to a bunch of Nuggets games in Denver, I put down a 2-leg parlay.
Ooh.
It was Nuggets to the finals and Nuggets win in 5. It was like plus 1,900.
Did they win in 5?
Oh, they most certainly did, my friend.
Nugs in 5, baby. Nugs in 5.
And it was a cheapy, fun bet to put in. We see all of you in the room. We're so excited to chat with all of you. We will go through all of your trade questions, and don't worry if they drop down, because I can just scroll right back up. I'd like to ask how things went in the household with this Jets-Giants matchup.
So I was a total douche about it, 100%, right? Because not only did I, like, at the last minute change one of our survivor picks to the Jets just to annoy my darling bride.
You mean in the survivor pool that you guys are sharing together that you changed a couple of weeks ago? Thankfully you did, because you're still in it.
Yes, exactly. So I felt the need to just kind of stick it to her here and say that, you know what, you might be rooting, if you're rooting for the Giants, well, then you're rooting against us winning this survivor pool. So is that really where you want to be? So right off the bat, she was completely pissed off. Well, I mean, she was pissed off because she had to get up at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, finally, and have to watch football there. But like, I was a total pain in the ass about it.
Did you guys watch it together? Were you under blankets? One of you has a Jets blanket, one of you has a Giants blanket. How does this look? Please tell our audience.
Oh, let me paint this picture. So imagine Howard in this Jets hat.
Okay. We switched hats, everyone. If you're listening and not watching, there was a hat switch.
A bright green New York Jets hoodie.
Okay. All right.
And then
look like an M&M. You look like an M&M, kind of.
Oh, come on. I'm losing weight. I look like an M&M.
No, it's just because the color green of the Jets is very green of the M&Ms.
So I'm done.
I didn't need it round like that. I just meant the color. Okay. What was G wearing?
Tell the story anymore. It's no fun. Okay, I feel better. Anyway, so yeah, bright green Jets t-shirt underneath. She's like scrambling around the room, all frustrated because she can't find her Giants jersey. So she's all like pissed off and it's the worst game ever. The worst game ever. So what happens though, as we're watching like some pregame stuff, we see the Jets walking into the arena in their Halloween costumes, which is like, I believe it's a Akatsuki, which is some Japanimation kind of thing. And, I didn't know what it was, but, we had a bet going. And if I lost the bet, then she got like, the full blown, like full body massage with the oils and candles and the ethereal music and everything that she wants there. And then part of it is that I get to rub her whole naked body, but I don't get any action afterwards. Like that was her end of the bet.
Okay.
My end of the bet, different story.
Yeah, of
But
course.
I turned around. I was like, is it my birthday? It felt like it. So my side of things, I was like, all right, you know what? I said to her, because I was such a pain in the ass the entire time. And it was a crap game to sit and have to like endure as I'm like watching like on my, phone, like all the other games that are going on. And so I'm not really even paying that much attention to the Jet Giant game. And she's like, and so I said to her afterwards, I was like, I'll tell you what, since I got all this massage oil, I'll tell you, out of the goodness of my heart, because I changed this Survivor pick, I'm going to give you your full massage, right? Warm you up a little bit, so to speak. So she's like, oh, okay. I light the candles.
Okay.
I get the massage oil out. I'm like, getting all that aromatherapy going on. And the music that I put on, we're about like, I don't know. I've got this one long thing on loop for an extended period of time. And about maybe like 5 minutes into it, she was like, what are we listening to? It was the Akatsuki theme song that I that I pulled off of YouTube and looped it all together for like an hour-long song.
That is cruel.
Oh, I know. And so when I was like sitting there and I was like, I was working on the shoulder and everything like that. And I was like, yeah, this is Akatsuki. And she's like, what's Akatsuki? I said, do you remember the Jets walking in their Halloween costumes? She's like, yeah. I was like, that was Akatsuki. She was like, turn it off right now. Turn it off. Like she went from like being so soothed and relaxed to so angry and so tense that it made it all worthwhile for me.
I would say that's equivalent to laying down and getting a massage, and the only thing they're playing on loop is the Cars for Kids ads. And you know those ads. And by the way, I love kids. I love cars. I have nothing against either. Please, everyone, don't get it twisted. But those ads just grind you when you listen to sports radio all day or you have sports channels on. They've added in. So that would be similar to that. Okay, well,
I should have done that. I should have just rubbed her back and been like 1-800 Cars for Kids.
Cars for Kids.
just got an erection.
1876. By the way, it's 1876 Cars for Kids. So I've got it memorized. Donate your car today. Your tax write-off. We'll even pick it up. By the way, we'll even pick it up. Okay. Okay. So there was a win though. So you get the win there. You kind of taunt your lovely wife.
Mm-hmm.
But you've had an incredibly strong week for the FA family. And as you being the giver that you are, you end up giving so much for your family that I don't know what happened to your personal seasonal DFS lineup, but we should probably talk through it.
I don't really want to talk there. So, all right. So yeah, I mean, like you look at go take a look at the DFS watch list over at fantasyalarm.com. And we're going to be talking about that, a little bit later in the show. But you look at what the optimal lineups would have been just off of if you use the playbook and the dartboard, and you built your lineup strictly off of that. And I mean, it was like, Dak Prescott and Alvin Kamara and Breece Hall and, Rashid Shaheed, DK Metcalf. So, I mean, real killer lineups there. For me, I used Lamar Jackson and I used CJ Stroud as my two QBs for cash games. And I built, I usually build only one cash game lineup, but in this case, I built two. And I always give like, some pivots when I post example lineups every Sunday morning. But so I use these two knuckleheads as my cash game QBs. I use Joe Burrow as my GPP QB, and that was great. That was yummy delish. But these two chuckleheads, Lamar Jackson and CJ Stroud, just both stunk, did not have strong games. So that sunk my cash lineups. And then in my GPP lineups, if you've taken a 0 from somebody, that's a killer. Like that you'll never win big money getting having a 0 in your lineup. Like that's just it. And Miles Sanders was that 0 for me. I was like, oh yeah, he's super cheap. He's coming back. He's gonna see the majority of the touches. It was garbage.
It happens.
Garbage.
It does. It happens. It happens to the best of us. And those two kiddos that did not do it. And by the way, I was wrong. I had 8776. Jeff just straightened it out. It's 877 cars for kids. Okay. Thank you.
1877 cars for kids.
We've all heard it.
KAR.
I think I could do a whole show on questionable commercials. And we're going to get to the real meat and potatoes of what's happening on. But does anyone else think it's odd that Chris Hansen from To Catch a Predator is advertising for Viagra?
That's gross.
I take it you're a virgin.
Every time I hear the commercial, I think, is he the right delivery person for this? And he's a great guy. I know him. He used to live in my old building on Broadway. When I lived in Times Square, that's where he had his second place when he was working in the city. Great guy. But every time I hear that commercial, I ask myself, was this the best? Really?
So, really? That is kind of
very weird.
That is really weird.
It's very weird. It's just thank you.
Yeah.
So we won't go any longer. But I had to address that. Now let's talk about Halloween, which I'm deathly afraid
Which
of.
you hate it. You hate Halloween.
I made a mistake. What
No,
I did not realize was that people on Saturday were going to be celebrating Halloween. And my girlfriend Joanna wanted me to dress up, which I did do, okay, but with a twist. Wanted me to dress up and come and see her show. Now, she always comes to see me when I do events. So you know how it is with your people. You do the right thing. Now, her show is not till 1 o'clock in the morning. So what this means is I'm going to go to bed for like 3 hours, wake up and not know why, be super groggy, get in the car, hate my life. And then by the time I get there, I'm going to get this wild second win, which I did. But on the way there, it was so crazy because Saturday we had like that last really warm day in New York with 80 degrees during the day. Everybody was out. There were people that looked like they just walked off of Michael Jackson's Thriller set. There were people everywhere. And I was like, I'm in this Uber alone. I'm like, what is this? You're actually out. This is Halloween to other people. Had a great time. Ended up being at Flame Diner, 5 o'clock in the morning. I had that second wing. So I did watch football in bed all day on Sunday, which was awesome. But yesterday, actual Halloween, when I was just like running errands in my building and doing little things that are every single one of my neighbors that has a dog dressed their dog up to match their kid and their costume. And I saw all my favorite dogs, which I know the dog's name, but I don't know the parent's name. I just call them Romeo's parents, Casey's parents. Like I know all the dogs' names. All dressed up, and the dogs didn't seem to mind one bit. It was so adorbs.
So you actually went out for Halloween and
on Saturday. I didn't know that's when people would be celebrating Halloween.
I mean, well, it's New York. I mean, come on. I mean, if Halloween is going to show up, on a weekday like it did, then that whole weekend before is just a crazy party time. So
yeah.
I get that, but I like the fact that you actually could at least enjoy. Now, do you have trick-or-treaters in your building? Did people actually trick-or-treat around there? Are there any kids?
No, what we do is we can all give candy and they set everything up in a community area downtown stairs so all the families and kids can have fun. There's no door knocking. You don't knock on somebody's door in this building, okay? No knocking. So it's all in one place, but I will say I mentioned I dressed up. So Joanna was like,
Where's
went
the picture
as a wine salesman.
Lame. That's like a doctor walking around on Halloween in scrubs. That is lame.
But it's a new gig for me. So I felt like it was a new, I could just do this. And I had bottles of wine for Joanna. And she's like, what are you? And I said, how can you not tell? I'm a wine salesman. And all my friends died. So that was the extent of it. And then before I forget, I have set my alarm because I like songs on my alarm clock. So in the morning, I like to wake up to the theme. I have about 15 that are my favorite. And before I go to bed, I'm like, how amped do you want to be when your alarm goes off? My alarm theme is now UB40, red wine.
Drunk. I'm drunk.
There's that.
Funny. Too funny.
And then to
If you
wrap
want me to
this up,
if you want
I
me to
have a
send you the
question.
Akatsuki stuff, I can send you that too.
I'm good. I'm all set. I'm not going to be spiteful like that. I don't want to hear that. Last thing, how good can internet be on a 22-hour flight from New York to Australia? Because this could be when I memorize every single league mates team and look towards the rest of the season because I've got to find a way to entertain myself for 22 hours there and 22 hours back.
That's a long I don't know if I could deal with a flight like that. Like, I don't
It's the
mind.
longest I've done so far. I used to do Australia from California. It's only 16 hours. That's a breeze.
I flew from San Francisco to whatchamacallit, to Europe. We went to Amsterdam and to
10
Prague.
hours, right?
And that was kind of that was a little bit of a hike, and it was a little aggravating, like, being there in the seat and just kind of uncomfortable, whatever. I can't imagine doing like the full day, basically 22 hours. It's a full day, basically.
Yeah, it is a full day. So I plan to be studying what's going on in the NBA. I will be so sports savvy when I get back because all I have time to do is focus. There will be no interruptions, nothing to do, and I've got to stay, so that is the big plan. But let's talk about a little bit. We've got a ton of stuff going on. DFS Challenge NBA is out. Of course, I hate to be lazy, but there's no reason to not go to the Fantasy Alarm DFS playbook. And I know, but it's just the easiest and most fun way to get all the insights. John and Pemba giving out all that great information right there. How about you? Did you do the same as me?
Yeah, of course. I said I don't know anything about basketball, and I'm sorry, but you were supposed to teach me heading into the season anything and everything I needed to know about basketball. So no, instead, yes, I go through and I look for like the playbook. I pull players out of their value section there, and I do that so then I can figure out which big names I want, and go from there. Um,
We will get into it. We will get into it. Just there's so much NFL news. I mean, we woke up to the Raiders completely blowing up their operation. And then I'm out taking a walk. We get another missing piece. And then later on in that walk, I find out Jimmy Garoppolo has been benched. Like the shakeup in Las Vegas is
Oy,
very
oy,
Viva
oy.
Las Vegas, right?
It's crazy. I mean, it all happened. It was so funny too because it happened at like 9 o'clock,
Last night.
Pacific time. And I remember I was like sitting there and I was like, I'm trying to go to bed. And I was like, oh shit, look at all that news pop up. And I realized that that's what went down. And it was like, to me, it was so funny too, because it all happened so late. For the whole news to break. It reminded me of when like the Baltimore Colts moved to Indianapolis in the middle of the night. And it was like all of a sudden, so boom, now it's like no Josh McDaniels, no Dave Ziegler. They fired Mick Lombardi, their offensive coordinator also. They came out today, said Aiden O'Connell's going to be starting for them. And all I'm thinking about right now is like Devontae Adams, the ultimate of squeaky wheels. I mean, if you didn't think this was getting the grease, wait till you see him get like 20 to 40 targets this coming game and every other game after that. I almost feel bad for the New York Giants having to, put up with this.
So you think this is a better situation than Jimmy G as quarterback?
No, not necessarily. I think what they want to do here, I think what Mark Davis wants is he just wants like a completely fresh start. Like, yeah, here you go. This is what this is the situation. He basically went into the locker room and said to everybody, we're promoting the coaches from within. You guys can do whatever you want over the next, for the next half a season here. You want to play hard for me? Play hard for me. You don't want to play hard? Fine. We'll get rid of you afterwards, from there. But I think he wants to put like a whole brand new stamp on the regime. He's going to get, whoever the interim guy right now, Antonio Pierce, the linebackers coach, is not going to be the head coach next year. Not by a long shot. Like Davis is going to bring in a brand new regime to try and build around whoever did them right in the second half of the season, right? Josh Jacobs, you were unhappy. Devontae Adams, you were unhappy. We're going to change things up, but you got to show us that you're committed to this organization, and then we'll build around you guys with a better coaching staff and better players.
I feel that Jeff Saturday should be brought into this situation. Now, I know he doesn't have the connection that he had with Irsay. I know that was a different thing, but he's like the perfect substitute teacher. He made it through last season. He held it down. He kind of balanced back out the energy. Bring Jeff Saturday. Could be his new gig. He has to leave ESPN from being on in the morning every year, halfway through the season to finish the coaching cycle. Then he goes back in. I mean, why not? At this point, you're all rolling the dice the year that you get the Super Bowl at your home field, your home stadium, which you knew you did not have an opportunity in participating in. But I feel bad for Devontae. I'd like to see he's going to get more targets, but it's just tough to be in an environment that is so uncertain when you've had all of the offseason. Like, this is your moment, right? You get these games. Each player is looking at, I have 16 opportunities to build up my stats, to continue to build myself as a player. And when you get put in a situation that's not your fault, there's nothing you can do to make it better. You're just kind of twiddling your thumbs. And I'm sure that meltdown did not help on the sideline the other night.
No, it definitely didn't help on the sideline the other day. But again, I mean, you guys can go back and listen on SiriusXM's app, my love letter to Davante Adams. This is the bed that you made, right? Like, you got traded out of Green Bay. You landed with the Raiders. You then turn around and sign a 5-year, $140 million deal with $65 million guaranteed. You're committing to the organization, right?
But he was committing when Derek Carr was there. Do you think that makes a difference?
Well, that's the thing. Like, but you were committed to the coaching staff. It's not even so much about Derek Carr. It's about Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
Right. Like, Josh McDaniels was the coach, and he knew the scheme, and he knew how the offense was supposed to run. And what did he do? As soon as he signed this deal, he goes out and he rips 1,500 receiving yards, 14 touchdowns, and then sits there and complains the entire offseason about, I hate the coaching staff. I don't like the coaching direction that the team's going in right now. This is terrible. That's terrible. Like, what? I mean, come on. You should have explored who the coaching staff was before you signed a 5-year untradeable deal. Like, that's the thing. Like, if you go sign on a shorter term deal, no, you don't get the security of 5 years. But you know what? Like, in the NFL, they can just tear up contracts and not give a shit, right? Like, it doesn't, so you get your guaranteed money. You play a season or two, but sign a 3-year deal. Don't sign a 5-year deal, and just kind of make it easier, because I mean, he was such a crybaby after that. And I'm like, okay, well, this is now the squeaky wheel getting the ultimate grease job, right? He's going to new coaches. I guarantee you that when Mark Davis is looking for a new coaching staff, he's going to talk to Davante Adams and be like,
I hope so.
So who do you like?
I hope so. I hope he does. I hope he includes him in the conversation. I really do. I think that it could really make a difference for Devontae, and we're going to make a difference for all of you. See your questions coming in the chat. Do not worry. Just sit and relax. We will get to them. While we take a quick break, you're going to go over and claim your spot in the NFL DFS challenge. It is out on my timelines at The Real Lisa Ann. And I want to remind you. Okay, we're going to do it all. We're gamifying the NBA tonight on the BetterCast app. Check out Moose and Key's game preview of tonight's Pelicans Thunders game, including some of their top picks and plays. Then compete in our free contest by answering pregame questions, which are now live in the BetterCast app. And tonight during the game, test your NBA knowledge by predicting what will happen in real time. Chat with fans about all the big plays, top performers, and busts in real time. No purchase or subscription is necessary. It's always free to play. Watch the NBA with us, play our free contest, and win tickets. The more questions you answer, the more tickets you win. Redeem tickets for authentic NFL signed gear and collectibles. Download the free BetterCast app in the Apple app and Google Play stores. You must be an adult of 18 years old. We will be back momentarily for all of you. If you've got lineup questions, if you've got trade questions, we're going to get to them. Lisa Ann and Howard Bender right here. Lisa Ann Does Fantasy Bettor on the Better Sports Network, as well as Fantasy Alarm.
What can we expect from you out there on the track tonight?
Listen, I have a wife, 2 kids. I have, full-time jobs.
I'm never nervous. I don't even know what that word means. Can you explain what nervous means? No. I'm ready to have fun. I've never done anything like this before. I got asked to be a part of this. This is fascinating. Like, it's so cool to just look around and see what goes on here. So I'm just excited to get out on the horse. And you want trash talk? Is that what you're asking me for? No trash talk. I hope everyone does well.
All right, everyone's going to do well, but it has to be a winner. So give me your trifecta. Who's going to come in first, second, and third? Your heat.
I will go Maria 1, me 2, Willie 3, Moose goes 4th.
Well, it's very simple. I won this event last year. I won my heat, and so the defending champ has to be the favorite. Now, that makes me a little nervous just because I feel like it's hard to repeat. There's a little pressure when you're the favorite, but that being said, I'm still optimistic.
So your heat, it's you,
Yes.
Moose and Keith from Better Sports Network, and Willie Colon.
I think Keith might be my stiffest competition, and I asked for this because I actually recruited Keith, if you didn't know. So Keith, if you win, you're welcome.
Malusis is very good. I mean, he knows what he's doing, but I'm going to go with Maria.
Keith is waving to the crowd. He must pay attention because they're off. It's Mark Malusis going for the lead. Maria Marino on the outside, and now Keith Irizarry on the outside with speed, and they're 3 wide into the first turn. Woo! Mark Malusis is locked in for his life. 138 and 2. They're into the stretch. Sportscasters Derby 2. And still in front, Keith Irizarry. And now Mark Malusis is trying to squeeze on through.
Come on! Back! Come on! Let's go! Come on, dig it! Yeah!
Keith Irizarry. Keith, you did it all the way, wire to wire. Over Mark Malusis.
Awesome! That was so cool!
The champ is here! Keith, what was it like being out there? Adrenaline rush. You were doing the Instagram Live, so there was no panic. You looked cool, calm, collected the whole time, and you won it.
I felt really comfortable. I did. Like, I know you were joking with me before. Are you nervous? Are you whatever? What are you? David, the driver, was awesome. He's like, we're gonna win this. I said, all right, let's win this. And he said, let's go. Yeah, I just felt really comfortable. I did. It was fun. We're in the lead. I got Maria Marino on the right side of me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gonna beat us, right? And then out of nowhere, you see Moose coming up this way, and we feel him breathing down our neck. And I'm like,
Moose
no,
on the loose. Watch
Moose.
out.
Moose was definitely on the loose, and we just got Moose by a neck, a nose, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, but again, all of this for a great cause, and it was absolutely awesome to do this. It was cool.
All right, Keith, congratulations, and no matter what, you could always hold this over Moose's head.
Yeah!
And we are back with you right here, Lisa Ann Does Fantasy Bettor, with me and at Roto Buzz Guy, my friend and co-host Howard Bender. Howard, we got through a bit of the Raiders, confusion, chaos, all of that. Let's talk about Arthur Smith announcing that Taylor Heineke will be the starter for the Falcons in Week 9.
Shout out to the better boss, who is probably the happiest guy in the world right now. Like, you know, he's in the chat somewhere and he's thinking, Heineke. He was talking about this the preseason when we asked him who he thought would be the first quarterback benched. He said Desmond Ridder. And so, yeah, this is going to be a very interesting thing. You've got a better passing quarterback in Taylor Heineke. Is he a good quarterback, though? Not especially. I mean, he can chuck it downfield, but I mean, that's not really Arthur Smith's game. Like, I think the passing will improve overall, but you know, I mean, this isn't going to be like Heineke's not going to be racking up. He's not going to be like Sam Howell racking up 300 yards and, you know, and multiple touchdowns there. But I mean, listen, I think it definitely is a nice little boost for
Kyle Pitts, Drake London,
yeah,
Bijan Robinson as well.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay, we got a positive there. Now, a negative here. On one side, when you hear Daniel Jones talking about his injury, he says, oh, I should be back in no time. On the other hand, you hear other people talk about the fact that he could be out for the season. Now, the NFL Network's Mike Garofalo reports the Giants have signed quarterback Matt Barkley to their practice squad. How do you feel about this? Is this just a safety play? We know Tyrod Taylor did go to the hospital after the game last week.
Right.
So
Did
he's
get
probably not.
released.
Yep, did get released. Yep.
Mhm.
So it's a big question mark because a neck injury is serious. We've seen these things linger. We've seen it get worse. We've seen a player go back there too soon. And then, Tony Romo is a great example. Neck, then it went to back, then it went to something else. Next thing you know, we get to see Dak Prescott come in a preseason game in Los Angeles at Coliseum. And we're like, wow, we get to see Dak Prescott for the first time. In some running back news, we got Derrick Henry. He was listed as limited in the team's Tuesday injury report, just an ankle. Do you worry at all about Derrick Henry? Because it is a short week. Tennessee is playing tomorrow night against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I do kind of worry a little bit about him on the short week. I don't like the short week. I mean, listen, I've never really liked the offensive line of Tennessee, but I'll say this: if defenses are going to be kept more honest right now because Will Levis can throw the ball downfield because he can sling the rock, then it does give a little bit of a boost to Derrick Henry because, I mean, this dude's been running against stacked boxes left and right. But if, Will Levis is actually a legitimate passing threat, which he is, it's probably going to help boost Derrick Henry overall. I still don't like the offensive line, though.
I get that. And at that same game, we've got another news note with DeAndre Hopkins, who came to life but is dealing with a toe injury, which we know we worry about, limited on the team's Tuesday injury report. And again, matching up tomorrow night, short week.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think what we saw this past week was what we had hoped we would be seeing from DeAndre Hopkins on the regular. Is Will Levis going to chuck the ball 3 touchdown passes to DeAndre Hopkins every week? No, not even close. But again, listen, I'll worry about the toe, a little bit more if, I think he put in a limited practice today. I haven't had a chance to check the actual practice reports, but I do believe that he put in a limited practice today.
Yep.
And a limited practice on Wednesday. He should be good to go for this. I think the way that things went this past week, not going to say it rejuvenated him, but I think it at least made, the Tennessee wide receivers a little bit more encouraged about what could be down the road.
Agreed with that. Let's talk a little bit about Profit Exchange. It's live. Profit Exchange is the first US sports betting exchange with the best odds compared to any sports book. Profit Exchange is sports betting with a twist, and we love a twist. Bet against other people and not the house with better odds. If you're a New Jersey bettor, the best odds are available at Profit Exchange. Register for Profit Exchange to receive a no-sweat first bet for up to $100. Use the promo code BSN. Must be located in the state of New Jersey and be at least 21 years old. Terms and conditions apply. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. So let's talk about tomorrow night's game. We're going to look at the Thursday night matchup. We've got Tennessee, 3-4, traveling to take on Pittsburgh, 4-3, who's really pulling it together in a weird kind of way. But these low-scoring standalone games are unbelievable. Right now, 68% have hit the under for these standalone Monday night, Thursday night games. And this total point, 36.5, kind of makes you not even want to watch it.
I mean, well, that's why you put action on the game, because you need a reason to do it. I mean, yeah, this game here overall, I mean, I don't love it. I definitely don't love it. And the over under at 36.5, it's a little on the low side, but I can't really begrudge it. I mean, Kenny Pickett's going to play, but he's not 100%. We don't know really what to expect from Will Levis. Steelers defense at home is usually pretty solid here. So I mean, it's a tight one here for me. 36.5 is so low.
So low
that, I might want to, I might want to turn and look at what, Profit Exchange has as far as the odds go. If I wanted to go on the over, it's -108 over at Profit Exchange. So, I mean,
And it's -110 at every other book. So that
right. So
gives you a
slightly,
little bit more of an edge.
little bit. Like, it was just a little less juice. A little less juice. That's all you're looking for. Just a little less
Now,
juice.
you all out there can scan the code, but you got to be in New Jersey to play. Just letting you know. It's a New Jersey thing right now. That's a little Jersey for you, right, Howard?
Absolutely. I'm telling you, Lisa Ann, I look at New Jersey and I'm like, this place is effing beautiful. Beautiful. The Garden
It is
State.
beautiful.
It's the Garden
This
State.
The Garden State with great roadways, and also on the spread, Tennessee is +2.5, Pittsburgh -2.5, but it's 105 at the +2.5 for Tennessee at your consensus line for major sports books. And at Profit Exchange, the lines are +108 for the +2.5 for Tennessee. So you do get a better number there.
That's the boost right there. If you're in on Tennessee covering this spread, or at least just keeping this game nice and close, that's where you want to be. You want to be on that +108 side of things, because it definitely looks a little bit better. You just have to, you have to understand what the lines are telling you, and it's an underdog bet, which, I mean, again, we see a ton of underdogs winning on the regular. So, I think that's the temptation right there. Getting that
Well,
plus odds and getting points.
I am tempted to help the people here that are joining us live in the chat. And we've got one from Josh. Josh, thank you so much for staying put with this, because he was right from the jump. Would you trade K9? So can you, again, this is code that I don't know about.
Kenneth Walker, Seattle running back.
Oh, we call him K9?
His number is 9, and they go by K9.
Okay, good. This is all new for me. I really feel like there should be a Cracker Jack fantasy football decoder ring that I could invest in and buy a ton of Cracker Jack to find it. But meanwhile, I'm so lucky I have you, Howard Bender. So would you trade K9 and Thielen for Jamar Chase and Marquise Brown? It's a 16-man PPR. My roster is Burrow, CMC, Kamara, Amon-Ra, Thielen, Logan Thomas, Hall, Chiefs defense, Jake Elliott, and Kenneth Walker is on the bench.
Oh, I mean, if Kenneth Walker is on the bench and with that running back room, yeah. I mean, you're getting a premier player in Jamar Chase. I love Hollywood Brown. I really do. I don't care if Clayton Tune is going to be the quarterback this week. You're looking ahead beyond this week. And Kyler Murray, likely to be under center for the duration of the season here for the Arizona Cardinals, who are going to be playing from behind because their defense is atrocious, which means that they're going to be airing it out a ton. Marquise Hollywood Brown, I love that. And you're getting that. I mean, listen, if Kenneth Walker is sitting on your bench, and listen, he's a little dinged up right now too. And there's always the concern that Zach Charbonnet is going to continue to see additional touches as the year goes on to kind of keep fresh legs there for Kenneth Walker. So I love this move. I would definitely do it, especially because I mean, I was listening when you were talking about, I was listening for who the running backs were on
what
the
Josh
roster.
said in a follow-up question part was, my running back depth is great, but I have no other wide receivers other than Amon-Ra and Thielen. Josh, no need to justify it. Howard sees your point and says, yes, make this trade. So Byron says he doesn't see Harden winning a championship. I just think Harden is collecting jerseys, honestly. I just think he wants to have his name on every NBA team jersey so he can collect them and build his own room. I mean, that's it could be it, right? Can you imagine if you've been on that many teams, you get to actually have your official jersey going down the hall when you walk in your place? Like, could be super cool.
It could be super cool. It's so I just don't get it. Whatever happened to team loyalty, right? You remember when players would play their entire career with the same team and they developed this like relationship with the city in which they lived? Like, where's that?
That has less to do with the players and more to do with the temperature of the world we're living in. Aaron Rodgers, before he went into his darkness retreat, when they knew he wasn't going to be available by phone because he was in a darkness retreat, said he wanted to play. If he was going to continue to play, he wanted to be with Green Bay forever for the rest of his career. I put $100 on it and lost because they were trying to call him during the darkness retreat. And because he didn't answer, by the time he got out, his first round of messages were everybody telling him like, hey, they're making a move. They're talking. How could you talk? That's so much worse than talking behind someone's back. When you know they're in a darkness retreat for 4 days, you can't make any decisions.
I can do whatever I want.
And Green Bay did the same thing about Brett Favre. I just don't think there's as much loyalty both ways.
There's no such
Kevin
thing
says
anymore. It's terrible.
it's true. Devontae needs better than 1 of 7 for 11. Well, we all know that. That is true. And we have one here that says, who goes in the captain's seat for tomorrow night? And that's from Jimmy Fingers, Howard. He'd like to know if you think it's King Henry.
No, I don't think it's King Henry. I would probably, for my captain seat for tomorrow night, I'd probably be looking at either Deontay Johnson or George Pickens. It depends. I mean, if you're worried about Kenny Pickett and whether or not he's gonna, be okay, then utilize Deontay Johnson because he's the guy who gets the majority of targets. He's the guy who, helps move the chains. And if you're playing on DK, on DraftKings, because of that, you get that full point PPR. George Pickens has big play ability. And so if you're confident that Kenny Pickett is going to be just fine, well then, yeah, I mean, because this Tennessee secondary is it's no good. You can still get Derrick Henry into your lineup. But yeah, I think the captain seat belongs to one of those two Pittsburgh wide receivers.
We did get news just coming in right here. Basketball coaching great Bob Knight has passed away at 83 years old. What an incredible life he's lived, and the lives that he's touched, and the memory and the legacy that he will live on forever in so many people's hearts and minds and spirits.
I love Bobby Knight. I was like, I knew everybody was like, oh, he's an asshole. And he's, he treats the players, poorly and blah, blah. I'm like, there's still, maybe it was because my dad used to hit me that I was like, that's what dads do. And that's what a college coach is. He's your dad and your coach. And like, that's where it was. So I love Bobby Knight. I used to wear, man, what was it? A 1985, 1986 Indiana basketball t-shirt. I wore it like almost every day that summer because, I mean, it was just the team was great. I loved Bobby Knight. I was dating a girl whose sister went to Indiana University. So, I mean, it was like all these like beautiful things coming together for me. So, damn, Bobby Knight, that makes me sad. That makes me sad.
Lived a long life. 83 is a good number.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely don't want to live till I'm 83. That's 100% true.
It's
Oh
such
my
a good
God.
conversation, right? It's so true. It's like it all depends how things are going.
No, it doesn't. Things can be going great. I do not want to be that old man who's like shuffling around and got like food dribbling out of my mouth. And
hey, everybody, an old man's talking.
I hate you so much, Brian Burns.
Look, you look so much younger, not only because you are trimming down, but also because you trimmed your beard after Shannon Blunt played you yesterday for Halloween. How burly your beard is, and now you're looking all young. So I think you just reversed your age by about 15 years.
Well, I mean, I was like, once I saw her with the big bushy beard, I was like, all right, yeah, I definitely need to trim that down. And now that I know that you think that when I'm wearing my Jets sweatshirt that I look like a giant M&M, I'm gonna have to keep this like nice and trimmed down here.
It just is because the Jets green reminds me of M&M green, which is the one color that your governor is trying to make illegal. You know that Skittles are now illegal to sell in California state because of the food coloring that is used on them, because that's what your government thinks is important. Okay, we're going to take Skittles away from the kids. That's what we're going to do. Okay,
can't take Skittles away from Northern California. Marshawn Lynch won't have it. Neither will the ladies from the East Bay.
Agreed.
They will not be having it.
We got a question from Rob here. PPR needs 1. Najee Harris. I'm going to bring up a name that's going to hurt your soul. Miles Sanders, Royce Freeman, or the Cars kids for the Cars for the kids' theme song. Who could bring the most trade for the 3 out there? Need one.
Oh,
Najee Harris, Miles Sanders, Royce Freeman, or the Cars, Kars, for the kids' theme song.
so I'm gonna give Miles Sanders another shot.
Oh, look at you,
I
forgiveness.
I mean,
Forgiveness.
Najee has been terrible, right? And he's been ineffective. And the Tennessee Titans have a great run defense. That's been their bread and butter so far, as their run defense. Royce Freeman in that timeshare with Darrell Henderson. I just, he's good and he's a pass blocker and all like that. But, I don't know. I mean, I guess if I see, all right, you can run on Green Bay, but I feel like Darrell Henderson, I feel like McVay, he's got McVay's eye more than Freeman. Freeman's a good pass blocker, which is what's kept him employed in the NFL. But I mean, listen, the Colts they're not a good run defense. Their front seven is not strong. I'm going to give another shot to Miles Sanders. And if that doesn't work, then I will force myself to listen to the Cars for Kids theme song on loop for an hour before this show next week.
I don't want you to have to do that, but I love the forgiveness there. So, Rob, Miles Sanders is the choice that Howard's going with. And the reason you're not going Najee, who has been on a bit of an uptick, is because you are afraid of the front seven in Tennessee that Najee is going to be facing. Am I correct?
That is correct.
I thought so. Guess who is in the room? Our favorite person? I think that's Brian Burns' mom, Lori.
Hey!
We love it when you're here because he is so much nicer to us. He's just a spoiled child, right? You just spoiled him, right?
It's amazing how mean he is. It's amazing. Like, all I do is try and shower Brian Burns with adoring words and love and, all these compliments about his production work. Don't you see? There you go again. Lori, help me here. Help me with your son. Really. Lori and I, we should like do lunch one day and just spend an hour just talking about Brian and just kind of figuring him out a little bit. You need to help me.
She said, no, but he was so damn cute. And Lori, we love him as well. We love that you join us here on the show. So
I need baby pictures sent to me.
We do.
Yeah. rotobuzzguy@gmail.com. That's my private email. It's my email address, rotobuzzguy@gmail.com. I want all the Brian Burns baby pictures. We'll do a whole special on him next week.
Well, you collect the baby pictures. I would like his report cards and his progress reports. I really want to see when his growth started to develop and when it dipped. Okay, that's what I want to know. Did you get progress reports when you were going to school, Howard?
Yes, I
remember
did.
They came like quarterly, right?
Yes. Well, yeah. We got our report cards. It was broken into 2 semesters.
Yeah.
And then quarterly we would get progress reports sent home, which were always the word. Like, I always tried to intercept them, right? And be like, I don't know, maybe they just didn't submit them this time around. But because everything's always like, Howard's he never lives up to his potential. Potential is something I will never live up to.
Howard needs to apply himself.
Oh,
I just got Lisa talks too much. And I'm going to tell you a funny story. For the first 2 years I lived with my dad, who knew nothing about the school district, I intercepted the mail. He never saw a progress report for 2 entire school years. Let's go to the 3rd school year. And it just so happens we decided to go over to my aunt's house. We're all sitting around the table having dinner. And my aunt, out of nowhere, asks my dad about my progress report. My dad was not about to admit to his sister that he didn't know what she was talking about. So he was like, oh, Lisa's doing just fine in school. It was great. And he gave me this look, that look of like, young lady, you have a lot of explaining to do. And then he got all the school mail forwarded. Okay. All the school mail forwarded to my aunt. So I couldn't intercept any. But for 2 years, he didn't know how often I was skipping school.
That's too funny.
Look, you let me get the mail. Of course, I'm going to sort it. I wasn't really stealing. I was just sorting the mail. And I really did. You never saw Brian. So Brian hid his progress reports as well. We got another question right here. And then I want to flip right back again and talk about tomorrow night's game right here at Profit Exchange. So Henry Walker, or Najee. And our good friend in the room, Jeff, needs 2.
Henry, Walker, and
or
Najee.
Najee.
I'll do Henry and Kenneth Walker. Absolutely. While yes, I think that other guy trading Kenneth Walker would be fantastic. I
Sure.
think that, he's definitely a start here against Baltimore. I think this is going to be a very interesting game between Seattle and the Ravens. And then and then Derrick Henry over Najee. That's like a big no-brainer for me.
I see you've got no love for the Najee right now. So we're going to talk about this
None.
again. Remind everybody at Profit Exchange, which you can scan the QR code that Brian is going to put across the screen again quick for us. I want to talk about the money line on this one because it's an incredible difference. What the major sports book consensus line is plus 120 for the Tennessee Titans, minus 145 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And when you go down to the Profit Exchange lines, it's plus 130 for the Tennessee Titans and minus 138 for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, here's the funny thing is that I'd almost want to kind of split it up the way they have it there because, the minus 138, I mean, it's a little bit of juice there on the Pittsburgh Steelers to win the money line, but you throw the Steelers down there on the money line, maybe take the plus money on the spread that Profit Exchange is giving you at the plus 108 for, getting 2.5 points. Maybe that's the way, unless you think Tennessee's just going to win outright. I just don't know who's going to win this game. So I'd rather hedge and do like a Pittsburgh money line with a Tennessee spread.
I like it. Just like I love the Fantasy Alarm. And I want to remind everybody, you can get the Fantasy Alarm All Pro subscription. Unlock all content for all sports, including the annual draft guides. Get one-on-one expert access in Discord. League sync, analyze matchups and trends in your leagues. Lineup generator integrated with Fanjections. Daily and weekly rankings, value vault, position coaches. Waiver wire ownership percentages, projections, stats, and tools. And you will build better lineups, guaranteed. Get access to everything that Fantasy Alarm offers all year. Go all pro right now and save an extra $100 when you unlock all access for the year. Use promo code LOCK at fantasyalarm.com. That again is /lock. So that's fantasyalarm.com /lock. When we get back, we're going to continue the conversation. We're going to talk about that DK challenge that you all are making sure that you're in for next week. The link is out there on my timelines at The Real Lisa Ann. You're listening to Lisa Ann Howard Bender right here on Lisa Ann Does Fantasy Bettor, brought to you and on the Bettor Network as well as Fantasy Alarm.
From the Hometown Hero series, Zach Parise.
That is a very nice card, and that's one I'm probably going to have to organize a little trade ski with you, because I would actually like that card.
You got downtown Newark in the background. I mean, Newark has never looked so good.
No, it is not.
We'll put that back up on the screen. I just want to have a penny sleeve ready, and yes, we can absolutely work out a little trade ski for that, because that belongs in a Devil Fans collection right there.
I'll trade you the Braden Schneider rookie card for it.
Done.
There we go. The first card-for-card trade on Rip and Rip history. And it was that easy.
It was that easy. That's because, you know what? Because neither one of us are jerks. And it's the same thing when we try and do fantasy trades. Like, we don't try and screw each other. We have conversations. If there's a fit, there's a fit. If it's not, it's not. We don't try and, take the other one over the barrel. So there you go. In a penny sleeve. Hometown hero, Zach Parise. He was among the league's most productive goal scorers in 06-07 and followed up with a terrific regular season with an even more impressive postseason. And then they talk about what he did in the first round series against Tampa Bay that year. So that's off to the side for you.
That's true. And, if this is it for his career, he had a hell of a career.
He did.
Hopefully he comes back one more year with the Islanders, but if he doesn't, hell of a run.
And we are back right here. Your friends, Lisa Ann and Howard Bender. You can follow at RotoBuzzI, but please make sure that you're following at Fantasy Alarm as well, at Bettor Network, at Profit Exchange, which I had the toughest time spelling when I had to find it. Okay, like I went to the links that were sent to us and I just went and followed all the social media addresses. But then, until something starts to hit your algo, you got to do a little work. And I'm like, can I not spell? So follow at Profit Exchange and also follow at Underdog Fantasy. Let's get to the fact that next week you're going to miss me. I'm not going to be here.
What?
I will be in Australia.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're not
Yeah,
gonna do
it came
shows
up
from
quick.
Australia?
Come up quick.
Crikey, Lisa Ann, crikey. Why are you doing that to me, love?
Just a simple 4-day trip across the globe to Melbourne. 4 days, no big deal. But what's cool is when you leave there, you leave at 6 a.m. there on Monday and you get back at 6 a.m. on Monday here. So it's like you get a day back.
It's crazy. I don't know. It doesn't work that way. You don't really get a day back because you're going to be I mean, I can only imagine how jet lagged you're going to be just from a 22-hour flight in general. Even if you sleep the whole way, it's still going to screw up your time, your whole.
You know how I'm preventing the jet lag? I'm going in a day early. I've already organized a full day activities through the people running the show of a hyperbaric chamber, which they found me.
Oh,
they
nice.
found me a cryo chamber. I'm going to do all my Aaron Rodgers stuff day one, and then I'll be out. I'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I land on Thursday, so I'll do all that on Thursday. Get on their time zone. Go to bed like 8:39. I don't really know jet lag, but I do know that your clock can be thrown off.
Yeah.
But I also take care of myself when I get back. Like I'll be doing the same thing here. But let's talk about. I'm excited about it. Let's talk about your
should be.
DFS watch list. Or do you want to go into where did you finish last week in the DFS challenge on DraftKings?
Oh, I don't even know where I finished last week.
I am going to look this up as I remind everyone else because we've got a new challenge out there. We like to give props to those of you who get in these contests with us, which we thank you so much.
I probably crapped the bed in this one, actually. I probably used Stroud or Lamar Jackson as my QB. I don't remember which lineup I put in here.
Okay, well, I can tell you right now, mine was not the winning lineup, okay? So we're going to go to number 1 here. We'll read their lineup first. Ours was Drunken Tirade. I think I'd be friends with this person. Their screen name is Drunken Tirade. 197.72. Great lineup here with a lot of flames. Started out with Joe Burrow, giving him 27.6. Breece Hall, 21.3. Bijan Robinson, 12.2. Jamar Chase, 28.2. Garrett Wilson, 20.6. Jordan Addison, 21.4. Trayrick McBride, 25.5. Jahmyr Gibbs, 32.9. And the Panthers defense for 8 points.
What did they total out?
197.72.
Wow. I mean, I was listening to that. That sounded like a lot of 20-point guys. DK still not loading for me for whatever stupid reason, so I can't tell you my lineup, but I definitely did not have a 190-point lineup in this one.
Well, you know what? I got a lot of frostbite from my lineup, and I did start CJ Stroud.
It's the worst, right? Oh.
Okay, so I started CJ Stroud, who gave me 12.9. Tony Pollard, 6.5. Dameon Pierce. This was your game, Dameon Pierce. 4.6. I really believe Dameon Pierce was going to become. Josh Palmer, 5.4. Terry McLaurin, 17.3. Christian Watson, 6.3. Luke Musgrave, 2.9. Luckily, I threw in, an old legend, Keenan Allen, who gave me 14.9.
An old legend.
And I really thought the Texans defense could do something about Carolina. Not the case. So I only got 7 points. I was not in a good place here.
Yeah, it's still there we go. Now it loaded for me here. Let's have a gander as to seeing which lineup I put into here. This ought to be good, Lisa Ann. This ought to be rich.
You had to beat me because I ended up like 190 something out of 200. Not proud, but the last 2 weeks I was in the top 50. I know that's old news, but I just had to say it.
And that's okay. Like, you can brag, you can be a little braggadocious about, oh, where is it? Here we go. The Sunday to Monday. Oh, wow.
You did well.
I mean, I finished 35th overall.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Look at
Look
me
at that
go.
little spring in your step you just got, not knowing how well
So
you
this
did.
was my Joe Burrow lineup. All right, so Joe
Okay.
Burrow, Alvin Kamara, Breece Hall, Flame, Marquise Brown, just 15.3, but no
frostbite.
Solid. Jamar Chase, 28.2, Flame. Josh Downs, 14.2, solid. Mark Andrews, 14, solid. Michael Gallup, 4. Falcons defense, 3. 154.62.
Nice. Nice. See, it's going to touch back on that. We like all of you to play along. You get bragging rights. You saw my new friend, Drunken Tirade. Great screen name, whoever you are. We appreciate you playing along. We put these challenges out. I put them out every Wednesday for the show. This slate was a little bit different. When I went in to set up a DK, it gave 2 options. You could play the Thursday night game, which who wants to set a lineup for one game? Or you could play Thursday through Monday. And I was like, where are the options, people? This is no longer like Burger King. I can no longer have it my way.
I miss Burger King.
Keenan Patrick says Keenan is a dog. Keenan is a dog. He has dog mentality, which is good mentality.
I love Keenan Allen. I love Keenan Allen. I always have him on at least one team every year.
Yeah, and I really always did as well. But this year I was like, Keenan Allen's getting a little older. I'm going to go Mike Williams all the way around. And how well did that play out? And Keenan Allen's had a fairly healthy season as well. This is a great season for Keenan Allen. But let's talk about what's important here. Everyone going over to Fantasy Alarm, if you're not already signed up, you should be, because we got the Week 9 DFS watch list. Let's talk about this, Howard, because I know you work on this project all through the week. Every day you put hours into this, right? Because news comes out, things change. Weather comes out, things change. This is like a live project of yours, like the old school Chia Pets.
The old school Chia Pets. Yeah, I mean, I've found that it's beneficial. And I found this out with, a lot of, I spoke to a lot of Fantasy Alarm subscribers about it because, the show would happen and, you'd get like because this was all when Jeff Mans was at Fantasy Alarm. And so Jeff would do the Friday show and he and Ted Schuster would do the core 4 and kind of do it that way. After talking to a lot of subscribers, I started to develop this watch list, and when I moved into Jeff's spot, because they were talking about the fact that, you hear it all on Friday, but if you really want to dive into like the process and you want to know why you're looking at certain players, if, would starting it earlier in the week be beneficial? And so I started doing it on Tuesdays and then update it Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday until Saturday it morphs into the playbook. And so that's kind of where I went with it. And so, yeah, I love, and this watch list in particular. And if you guys want, I just Mr. Miyagi'd that fly. I just want you to know.
Oh my gosh. Is he in your hand?
He is in my hand right now.
That is so impressive.
Miyagi-san.
That is, now what are you going to do with him?
I'm going to throw him on. I'm squeezing him so that he's, and I'm just going to.
Hand.
Yum, 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 yum. Yum, 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 yum. And so this particular watch list, and if you guys don't have a subscription to Fantasy Alarm, go do it. FantasyAlarm.com/lock, promo code lock. Yeah, there's the QR code right there. Boom. It's the annual subscription, but we're giving you $100 off of it. So basically what happens is that, yeah, you pay for the full year, $187. That comes out to less than $16 a month when you actually break it down. So it's an initial cost, but you were talking about all sports, season-long DFS and betting content. You're talking about all our draft guides, all of our cheat sheets, like in the span of a year. So you get it now, and it's week number 9 for the NFL. That means your subscription is going to carry you through week 9, or through the end of week 8 next year. And so, yeah, you've got all your prep work and all of that stuff, and it's all paid for, happily. And so now you can jump into the watch list. And when I'm doing the watch list and I come up with stuff like this, Lisa, and it allows me to see where I'm really looking to pay up and where I'm looking to pay down. And as I went through everything this past week, I was like, look, the main slate is dog shit. Like, thankfully, your contest is like Thursday through Monday, so we can use the Germany game. We can use the Sunday night football game. We can use the Chargers on Monday night football. So I'd love using that slate. But if you're playing on the main slate, which is what the watch list focus on, it's terrible. It's horrible. Just nightmarish, possibilities here. Bad matchups, lame duck games. Like, all of these games have like the majority of them have like a under a 40-point over-under. So it's terrible. But what I did was, I identified who the bargain QBs were, like where we want to start looking. And yeah, we might go back to CJ Stroud this week. But the wide receivers that I was diving into, if you play on DK, like, so many of these wide receivers under 4,000 is huge. And they're all in these really great spots. So I'll let you go to the watch list and kind of check it out. If you want me to throw a name or two out there, I can certainly do that for you if you want.
I'd like one wide receiver. And by the way, when you talk about adding on to this, what's great about doing this as a live thing starting on Tuesday, your DFS watch list, is it also helps everybody with their fantasy lineups that they're tinkering with, right? So the deeper you're getting into this space, why would you want to wait till Friday? Why not carry that thought process? Because maybe you see something good, you learned about a matchup that's ideal. Maybe you learn about somebody that's out in the defense, a line move, whatever it may be. Then you're also going to go in and adjust your season-long lineup. So I think it's really cool that you're doing it Tuesday through Saturday. Is it more work or less work doing a little bit every day?
I mean, the initial watch list is a lot of work. The updates that happen, over the course of the time, it's a little easier just to like do some updates and be like, oh, this guy's going to be out. Let me add this guy to the watch list and whatever. Doing it, I'll tell you what, doing it throughout the week and really staying on top of everything makes it a lot easier to do the playbook on Saturday.
Okay. Yeah.
There's still stuff that pops up and I think about, different plays, or maybe I look at something and say, I'm not sure about this offensive line anymore. I'm not sure about this defense anymore. Things like that. So it's a little easier to do the playbook. I mean, it still takes me like a good 6 hours to finish researching everything, overall. But yeah, I'd say it makes it a little bit easier for me if I'm just doing a little bit each day. Yeah.
Give me one $4,000 receiver that you like this week, because I think it's going to be great for everyone in the room that's getting in the DK challenge with us this week.
All right. I'll give you one. Somebody who you know what? I'm not gonna go with Coop's guy. I was gonna go with Coop's guy, Demario Douglas, but whatever. Jonathan Mingo, wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers. If you look at Mingo's snap share, he's playing like 95% of the snaps at minimum. And if you look at where the targets are going, they're actually starting to float more towards him and off of DJ Chark. We know Adam Thielen's the bread and butter in this passing attack. But when you look at Mingo with the snap share, with the target share, and then you come and you look at this matchup, and the Colts, who rank 30th in DVOA against the opposition's wide receiver 2, and you see that they're giving up yards and they're giving up touchdowns. And while yes, they do a good job against the number 1, that's where their focus is, and it kind of leaves Mingo in a spot, or it leaves it's going to leave Mingo in a spot where I could definitely see a nice long touchdown coming his way, which is great for GPP tournaments, especially at his price. $3,400 on DraftKings,
so cheap
on FanDuel. Yeah, both super cheap.
Boy, I see inflation has not hit Jonathan Mingo.
No, the inflation did not hit Jonathan Mingo. I love that, man. I love when the DFS sites get players wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
man.
got to take advantage before it adjusts because you know if he has a big week, this is going to be your last week getting him. And those are the value plays that help you get yourself a stud quarterback, a stud wide receiver, whether it may be Tyreek Hill or not for this week. But who's chalk this week? Who are you avoiding? Who's too chalkerson for you, Howard Bender?
Who am I avoid? I don't know necessarily know if I'm really avoiding the chalk. What I like to do is there are certain chalky guys that you want to go and grab if you know that they're in a smash spot, like Brees Hall this past week, right? I mean, it was chalk play. He was like 98% owned in my cash games, which is insanity, right? But he was also super highly owned in GPP tournaments. It's okay if you know or you believe that this guy is really going to dominate, then it doesn't matter if he's chalky or not. Find a way to differentiate yourself from the herd in another fashion. So what I like to try and do is I like to try and go with like a stack, quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, quarterback, wide receiver, something like that, that maybe the majority of people aren't on. And then that's where I differentiate from the herd so that I can use like a chalky guy like Brees Hall. Like Alvin Kamara against Chicago this week is going to be super chalky. We know he's going to be super chalky, but we also know what his ceiling is, and we also know what his potential is in this matchup against the Bears. The passing work that he gets. I mean, there's so much there. So Kamara's a guy. Yeah, I know that people are going to flock to this Dallas-Philadelphia game. So, whether it's AJ Brown or CD Lamb, like I'll get one of those guys into my lineup for sure, and go along with the herd. And then I'll just find like all of these like little cheapy, sneaky plays that I'm unearthing. That's where I'll, zig when everybody else is going to zag.
Now, I know you haven't been able to be partnering right now with Jim Bowden because he is handling the World Series, which is so incredible. But if you were to speak with him, would he have the same feels as me? I'm super scared for this Cowboys-Eagles game. As a Cowboys fan, I just feel like I don't ride the hot hand, right? I don't feel like, oh, we had a great game. We're on a roll. No, that is all you do as a Dallas Cowboys fan. You actually have a great game. And do you know what happens for the next game? You're biting your nails before the game because you're like, it's an every other thing. And I'm just concerned with the momentum that the Philadelphia Eagles have picked up. You mentioned A.J. Brown. Boy, going against A.J. Brown felt very different than playing A.J. Brown in my season-long leagues where I have him this week. It was one of those like, oh, I'm so excited to have A.J. Brown. Then you go in, and you're like, oh, it's great that he did well. Well, if you were to pick a winner, are you feeling the Philadelphia Eagles are going to beat my Dallas Cowboys?
I feel like they are.
I do too.
I'm sorry.
It's a stay away for me. I try not to bet my team, but yeah, here we are. Let's talk about
here we are.
Let's talk about some brighter things. Let's talk about some totals at Underdog. Did you make some picks today at Underdog? Because I have a little graphic that I tweeted out there. And let's see. I have a little graphic that I tweeted out there. Brian Burns probably has it handy, can put it up. We can see my picks right here, which kind of blows the throw to it because you can see what I chose. So don't you agree? I shouldn't have asked that. Brian, not your fault. My fault. But let's talk about who I was going with and talk about Underdog Fantasy. Pick them on Underdog Fantasy by choosing higher or lower on 2 to 5 of your favorite player stats. Play NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, CFB, and more. Make 2 correct picks and win 3 times your entry fee. 3 correct picks, 6 times. 4 correct picks, 10 times. 5 correct picks, 20 times. All you need to do is sign up at fantasyalarm.com underdog with the promo code BETTER. First-time depositors get a 100% match up to $500. I have a little breakdown on why I've made my choices. We've got Tua Tagovailoa at 2 85.5 passing yards. Now, this matchup in Frankfurt, Germany, up against the Kansas City, who just came off their bad day at work for this season. In the last 3 games, Tua has put up 324 yards versus New England, 216 versus Philly, 262 versus Carolina. Who's going higher? Who's going lower? My pick was lower. I just see these games, this extra travel. It's totally out of their elements. It's a different field situation and playing a decent defense. Kansas City's defense has played better this season than I've seen them play in a couple of seasons. And I think we're looking at the 324 that Tua put up versus New England and forgetting about the 216 and the 262. So that made me go with the under on 285.5 passing yards.
Where do you sit on this whole? The Miami Dolphins have not beaten a team with a 500 or better record since week 3 of the 2022 season. Like their 2 losses this year came against Buffalo and the Eagles. Right?
Yep.
Every other team they've beaten, but all those teams have a sub 500 record. And I think that's like, people are kind of buying into the fact instead of looking at what this offense, always produces or, routinely, but, that's like a big deal for a lot of people. Do you think did that weigh in when you took the lower here?
It weighed in. It was one of the many variables that weighed in, not the lead variable, but for me, just looking at the last 3 games, looking at this is a real matchup going up against Kansas City. And let's not forget, facing Kansas City after they lost to the Denver Broncos cannot be a high point for Tua. I mean, imagine you lost to the Broncos. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I just think the momentum will be there. And also, I look at all of these international games as a little bit of unders for our high performers. Sure, there's some fluky situations, but they're normally not going over on the totals. And for this one, I just looked at the history for the last 3 games for Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay. I mean, listen, I can definitely dig it. I like it a lot. I like taking the lower on this one as well. So I'm with you. What'd the public do?
Public would say the ones that are paying attention is my friend Jeff, who says lower. Stack 5 or Stack Cash is your friend from Fantasy Alarm. He's a subscriber. We've got Patrick in the mute who was just chatting a ton. But the only person paying attention actually was my friend Jeff, who said lower.
Thanks, Jeff.
So we'll try this again. Higher or lower, everybody? You can just put the one of either of those words in. Are you higher or lower on this one? This is Jaden Reed, really going for a reach here, Howard. A player that nobody's going to be thinking about. 32.5 receiving yards for Jaden Reed. Now, hear me out here.
Okay.
83 receiving yards against the Vikings, 21 against Denver, and 7 against Las Vegas. There's some real uptick there. When you start with 7 receiving yards, and the next game you get 21 receiving yards, the next 3 you get 83 receiving yards. Now you're playing Green Bay, and we're only asking you for 32.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think with the way that the matchup is against the Rams, I'm sure that I mean, because the Rams pass defense is actually pretty decent, but if you try to break it down a little bit more granularly to see exactly where where they're best in their coverage, I look at where they are against the wide receiver 3, against the slot guy. Because you got Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, and those guys are on the outside.
Yep.
And Reed usually plays the slot. And so the Rams, who actually ranked 6th in DVOA against the slot receiver, still giving up almost 34 receiving yards per game. So, if you look at this and you say, well, this could be a heavy throwing game. We'll see what happens with our good friend Jordan Love, who everybody's down on. I think I'd still go higher on this 32.5.
Well, that's exactly what I did. I went higher. Okay, now we've got a couple answers. CJ said higher. Wendy in the room. Wendy, great to see you. Says lower. Rob says under. Byron says higher on Reed. Jeff says higher. I think he's trending in the right direction. I think he's trending in the right direction. And I want to go with a sneaky play. It's easy on Underdog Fantasy because you get to see all the players, right? Don't go with the obvious. I did not go Captain Obvious. I did go Captain Obvious on this next one, though, because I'm curious what you have to say. Najee Harris, 58.5 combo, rushing and receiving yards. I did the math, okay? And by the way, they are playing at home tomorrow night in Pittsburgh up against Tennessee. I did the math for the totals. He had 55 combined rushing receiving yards against the Jags, 68 versus the Rams, and 40 versus Baltimore. Again, everybody, higher or lower, 58.5 rushing and receiving yards combo for one Najee Harris.
I'm just going to do this blind and just say lower because he's Najee. And he had a great game this past week. He looked good, but not against this Tennessee run defense. And I don't think he's going to see enough pass catching work. I
said the same thing. I said under because of Tennessee's run defense. It is the one shining light in Tennessee right now. The beacon of hope is that run defense. So Najee, who doesn't play well when he's challenged, I'm going lower on this one as well. The next one's really going to throw you, Howard. This is a reach. Cade Otton. I'm sure everybody's playing Cade Otton props, right? We are here right now on Underdog Fantasy. You can get involved as well. Don't forget, if you go to fantasyalarm.com/underdog with the promo code BETTOR, BETTOR, first-time depositors get 100% match up to $500. Pretty good free money there. So, Cade Otton, 27.5 receiving yards. They're playing Houston. Okay. So far, he had 27 against Buffalo, 43 against Atlanta, and 15 against Detroit. Are you going higher and lower to the room of 27.5 receiving yards for one Tampa Bay? Cade Otton.
Let me read you a little something here, Lisa Ann. How about this? The Texans rank 24th in DVOA against the tight end and are allowing just over 65 receiving yards per game. Otton doesn't see a world of targets, but in this matchup, the Bucs should try to expose some of those coverage shortcomings of the Texans. Houston's allowing the 9th most fantasy points per game to the position, so if Otton can get a few extra targets in this matchup, he'll be a solid bargain play. That's what I wrote for the DFS watch list. I say higher for Cade Otton.
I said higher too, and I did not read it from you. I just randomly sat down this afternoon and really dug into this. This one's a little bit more Captain Obvious. Mark Andrews up against Seattle. It's 54.5 receiving yards. His last 3 games, 40 against Arizona, 63 against Detroit, and 69 against Tennessee. Again, in the room, higher or lower for Mark Andrews, 54.5 receiving yards. What do you say, Howard?
Well, here's the funny thing about good old Mark Andrews and the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks actually rank 21st in DVOA against the tight end, giving up an average of 53 receiving yards per game. They've been doing all right. He's going to have to contend with Jamal Adams, which is definitely a tall order, but I'm going to say higher anyway for Mark Andrews. I like that guy. I like this matchup.
I feel like I'm going to win this one at Underdog Fantasy because you agreed with all of my choices, and I really went out on a limb. Cade Otton, I bring up. You wrote about him. There are my picks right there. That really nice graphic that Brian puts together. I love all of this. Like, it's super cute. I send it to him like a minute. I get this graphic back. But for all of you,
funny is that I have that same outfit, right? I never wear it anymore, but I have that same outfit.
Oh my.
Yeah.
The shoes and all, I love it so much. For all of you, don't forget, go to fantasyalarm.com/underdog and use the promo code BETTOR, BETTOR. We will be right back with all of you. If you haven't yet, Go and sign up. Make sure you're following Profit Exchange. Make sure you're following at Underdog Fantasy, and go and click that little DraftKings link so you can be in our DK challenge for this week. It's a free challenge open to 200 players. You're listening to Lisa Ann and Howard Bender on Lisa Ann Does Fantasy Bettor on the Bettor Network, as well as Fantasy Alarm.
The Bears have to be one of the most inept franchises of any sport I've ever seen in my entire life. And they share the city with the White Sox, who are also inept. Like, that is how bad the Bears are. I just don't understand how you can go your entire existence and the quarterback that wins you a Super Bowl is Jim McMahon. You couldn't find anybody else.
They don't have a good history with quarterbacks, but they let him be the quarterback for a long time, too.
Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes right there. And you drafted Mitch Trubisky. They were right there. I there's a lot of pain in being a Falcons fan. The Bears are one of the teams I could argue they might have it worse, and they have a Super Bowl.
And
when the best quarterback in the past 50 years is Jay Cutler, you have a problem.
That's so funny that you just said that. We were talking about Jay Cutler the other day, me and my friend, and I was like, yeah, he was on, because we were watching the Colorado Rockies game against the Giants, and it looked like he was behind the thing. I was, yeah, well, he played for Denver most of his career. We looked it up. Chicago let him be their starting quarterback way too long.
Here's the thing, too, is that Jay Cutler wasn't bad. Like, he was erratic. He wasn't terrible, though.
The poor man's Brett Favre.
I'm taking him over Justin Fields. I'm sorry.
I would.
But Jay Cutler led that team to an NFC title game that they lost to Green Bay. But he's gotten farther than anybody else. You want to know who the other starting quarterback was for the Bears in the other Super Bowl appearance they made? It was Rex Grossman. What are we doing out here? It was Rex Grossman, and Kyle Orton was the backup. How are you that bad? Bro, like, oh my God. Listen to the top 5. According to Football Reference, the top 5 greatest Bears quarterbacks of all time. Jay Cutler, number 1.
I can't believe it.
Sid Luckman, who last played in 1950, is number 2. Jim Harbaugh is number 3. Jim McMahon, the Super Bowl winner, is number 4, and he played there for 6 years. And Mitch Trubisky, is number 5 on the list as terms of passing yards go.
Get into this like a little bit of country situation. I don't know what kind of this really music is. A little beboppy there, but we are back with you here, Lisa Ann and Howard Bender. Follow at RotoBuzz Guy. Follow at Fantasy Alarm. Follow at Better Sports Network. We don't have as many questions tonight. I feel like our fantasy listeners must be signing up for the All-Pro subscription at Fantasy Alarm. Does anyone have a lineup question? And if you do, a trade, anything, throw it in the chat and we'll get to you.
Yeah, happy to help. Happy to help.
Oh, we're always happy to help. So did you have any picks at Underdog that you want to throw at me?
I did, actually. I have 2 that I've gone through. Number 1, Michael Pittman. Yeah, there it is. The QR code, guys. Get that QR code. Michael Pittman, 55.5 receiving yards. I secretly love this matchup, Indianapolis against Carolina, and I know that Houston, laid an egg against Carolina last week. Carolina still no J.C. Horn, no Jeremy Chin, Von Bell and Xavier Woods are both banged up. It's just the defense is not good. And while we used to say you just run against Carolina over and over again, yes, you do, but it's opening up the passing game a lot more. So Michael Pittman for me, I'm going to say higher than 55.5 receiving yards. The other one, how about tomorrow night, Thursday Night Football? right? This is going to be a barn burner, right? This
Ugh.
game's going to go like, it's going to be like 9-6.
Oh,
Maybe
please.
12-9, maybe. But
Oh my
something like
God.
that where Chris Boswell, the kicker for the Pittsburgh Steelers, is going to kick multiple field goals. And I see him going higher than 6.5 kicking points. He needs 2 field goals and an extra point, maybe 3 field goals. Either way, this game is going to be grotesque. I'll say higher than 6.5 points, kicking points for Chris Boswell.
I got that sound thing down.
Good, right?
That's a twist on Underdog and probably an untapped resource to start tapping in on the kickers. Something I really didn't think about, but something mathematically that's almost fairly easy to put together, especially in a game like tomorrow night's, which is a barn burner. So, I watch every Thursday night game at Sapphire 39 in the city, and all the Sapphire locations have taken my wine. So I will be having wine with friends. But the ladies that work there are very considerate. And so there's this huge curved screen TV right behind the stage. But when the game is awful, I'm like, go ahead, go up, do your thing, because the game is awful.
Right, yeah, nobody cares.
Tomorrow night by halftime, I might be telling the girls, you're not bothering me by being on stage in front of the TV. Please, we're not getting anything. But we do have a question in here. This is from our friend Jimmy Fingers 19. At what point should I start considering putting Bijan Robinson in my flex spot? 10-point averages have not been doing me good in my RB1. I think we need to ask Jimmy, who else, what other running backs are you working with? Would you want to know that too, Howard, right?
Yeah, I would definitely want to know just a little bit more information. It doesn't have to be a ton more information, but just enough to kind of, help us through this decision-making process here. But
and Jimmy has another question.
But Bijan, putting him in your flex spot doesn't it doesn't matter if you're putting him in your flex spot or your running back spot. It doesn't matter because he's still a starting player for you. So, I don't know who your other running backs are. And more importantly, then also, if you're talking about flexing Bijan, then
who else are you planning on moving out? Because the flex is really for flexibility.
Everything like that. We need more information on this one, please, Jimmy Fingers.
Jimmy Fingers, 19. We do need more info. And that's, I think, a little bit of a misnomer about the value of the flex spot. The flex spot is so handy when you have a Sunday night game or a Monday night game, and you've got a player that has a questionable tag, or, hey, we're going to put him out there before the game, but we're not sure. And you're able to make that move. That is what you utilize the flex spot. Flex has nothing to do with, unless you're in a super flex and you put a quarterback, a wide receiver, or a running back or a tight end in there. But flex is really about the flexibility for you to be able to make a move and replace that player, which you cannot do in your other possessional spots. Okay, we have it. Okay, we've got it. We've got Roshan Johnson and Darrell Henderson as his other RBs.
Bijan Robinson starts over both those guys, no question about it. Doesn't even matter what Bijan's done in the last couple of weeks. He is by far and away the superior player. You're moving into Taylor Heineke instead of Desmond Ridder, so you're looking at possibly some stronger passing work. Which, we saw a couple of weeks ago, Bijan Robinson ran 50 some odd routes or something insane like that. So, yeah, Bijan starts over both those guys. There's no question about it at all. None. Zero. Zip. Zilch. Nada.
We've got one right here from Rob that says, receivers coach is avoiding all Minnesota receivers. They have to throw the ball to someone. Zig or Zag in DFS? ?
Wait, say that one more time here.
Receivers coach is avoiding all the Minnesota receivers. They have to throw the ball to someone? ? Zig or Zag in DFS?
You can. Listen, I think that, a lot of people are kind of steering away from Jordan Addison because of that. I don't hate it because Jaron Hall is going to have to just shorten up the passing game. He's not going to sling it downfield. And so I'm not really looking for something like that. But I feel like this it favors Hawkinson a bunch. Addison can run those short underneath routes as well. Brandon Powell, I've got him in the watch list here as a potential dart throw because, in this matchup here, they don't cover the slot receiver very well. Atlanta's got Jeffrey Okudah and AJ Terrell on the outside. D. Alford is their underneath guy, their slot receiver or slot corner. And it's just kind of like everything that it does, it funnels things to the middle of the field. And so if you're going to shorten up that passing game, I think Brandon Powell can, he can get a little separation from D. Alford. So like that could be a dart throw there, but I feel like Hawkinson's probably going to be much more the bread and butter here for this week.
We have one here from our friend Brian Burns.
No, I refuse to answer it.
Where do you have Jordan Addison now that Cousins is out for the season?
Up your butt.
Droppable, he asked.
Up your butt, Brian Burns. That's where you can put Jordan Addison.
How dare you?
Do you remember? Were you a fan of The Office?
Of course.
Okay, remember when Stanley went through that phase where he would like start saying a really serious something? He's like, "It's stick it up your butt."
It's stick it up your butt.
And he would laugh so hard after doing it. It was just what a great show. What a great show. But is Addison droppable? Was the second part to this?
No, he's not droppable. No, because they traded for Josh Dobbs. And I tell you what, Dobbs did not look terrible for Arizona. It's not a great team in Arizona, like a team like kind of learning along the way. Josh Dobbs, he can sling that rock. I like it a lot. Once he gets up to speed, I'm definitely in on that one.
I'm in on the fact that I already have a flame emoji on my DK lineup for tonight's NBA slate, which is happening right now. Okay. We got games going on. I'm going to go to the scoreboard right now. What is making me happy? What is making me happy is the fact that I've got 23.5 from Ginobili, who was only 5,600 and only 2% owned. That was my pick on my own.
That's a nice little bargain, huh? Look at you.
Kind of like the NBA thing. But I have a full lineup here going. We are not started. Okay, we are here. We are going. I have a couple players that haven't started yet. Chris Middleton's already given me 15.2. Aaron Gordon's already given me 6.2. And sorry that I got nothing from Carter so far. But so far, I have 45 points, but I have a ton of minutes left. I went with a lot of the late games because I like to feel the rush after the show where my lineup is not defeated yet. And then I feel like I'm in last place, but then I'm like, oh, everybody else played all the early games. I have like all these minutes left.
I don't know nothing about no basketball. I'm still learning.
You're still learning. Well, I know you put Sabonis in because Sabonis was written up by John and Pemba on the DFS watch list over there on the NBA and Fantasy Alarm. So I know you have Sabonis. Was there anybody you did put in your lineup that you're happy about?
No.
Okay.
I'm not happy about any of them. I'm still like, I'm reading the content and I'm doing okay, right? Like I'm trying to play along because it's not just this contest that I'm doing it for. I like to go and I like to read the playbook as a Fantasy Alarm subscriber. Read the playbook and see what the guys are saying. I watch the DFS show and then I start trying to build lineups, off of that. And some hit for me, some don't hit for me. So I'm really trying to figure out, like, for me, it's not just about figuring out the game itself and the players, but I'm figuring out what the tendencies are for James Grande in the playbook versus what John and Pemba's usual move is. What's Sean Mitchell deciding on? Dylan Clemens. So we've got a couple of different guys who are all great basketball guys, but there's different nuances, and you can tell, who likes to swing for the fences a little bit more, who likes the higher upside guys. So, that's the one thing one of the great things about our playbook that we do is that, we've got some really good, sharp basketball minds on there. So it's a double learning process for me between the game itself that I know nothing about. And then
so when you know nothing about basketball, I find this really hard to believe. And it's probably because you've been such a big baseball guy and then you do baseball and then football comes in. But the NBA, I mean, out where you live, you got some good squads.
Listen, when you grow up in New York City and you're always the shortest kid in class, and you have no 3-point shot. There's just it wasn't my game. I played stickball in the park all the time, and I played some baseball growing up, and I played soccer.
Excuse me, can you tell us all the official, what is stickball?
Stickball is just, it's baseball, but you've got you take like a broom handle, right? And that's like, so the ball is like, you take either like a racket ball,
okay,
or a tennis ball, okay, but your bat is just, it's like a broom handle, and so you're doing that. Well, we used to take it used to drive my grandmother nuts, because I used to take the rod, the clothing rod from her
no
closet.
way. And you go up, play with it, then you'd hang it back up?
Because you get there's a good thickness to it, as opposed to like a broom handle or a mop handle. It's a lot thinner. So if you steal the rod inside the closet, and just, and it used to drive her nuts, because she'd go into her closet and all her clothes would be like either on the floor in her closet, or sometimes I would be nice and just kind of throw them onto the bed. I never laid them out nicely or anything like that, but that's what it was. So you would play in the park, and you would, you'd have bases set up, and you just play like a regular baseball game. But stickball was the bat that you used, and there are different rules. Like if you hit the building above the second floor window, that's a home run right there. We had specific areas in the park of where you were playing.
Well, I get it. I played basketball my whole life. So I guess that's why I'm more into it. Makes perfect sense. And Jeff, I had no idea that you were missing out on the DK challenges for NBA. I will DM them to you on Twitter on Wednesday when I set it up. I got you, boo. We got another one from Jimmy Fingers. He says he forgot to add that he does have King Henry to accompany Bijan. So that was a stupid question. So who is the better flex play, Darrell Henderson or Josh Downs?
There we go. That is the question.
Ding, 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 ding. We now understand what's going on.
Boop, 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 boop. Josh Downs. I love Josh. Darrell Henderson, he's going to split that backfield work. And, maybe if Matthew Stafford isn't sitting at 100%, then that might be something that you would want to explore. Just given the matchup that the Rams have this week against Green Bay, and you can run on Green Bay. But if this is a PPR league, Josh Downs against this Carolina secondary, Josh Downs is a target monster for Gardner Minshew. He loves throwing him the ball. So if it's PPR, I'll use Josh Downs. If it's standard or half-point PPR, I will say Darrell Henderson.
Okay, I'm leaning on that as well. I like it. Now we straightened out that question. It did take us a minute to get there, but we got there. I want to talk to you before we go. We're at the point of wrapping up, but games you're really looking forward to watching. Now, last week we heard the conversation after this Kansas City game. It's so funny how one game can sway the overreaction Monday, right? The Chiefs are done. With no Taylor Swift in the crowd, Travis Kelce isn't as good. Well, he's got to get used to that. She's on her Eras tour in Europe now, so this is going to be a thing. How do you feel about this matchup between Miami, who the first 4 games of the season we thought was a complete buzzsaw? Now things have kind of balanced back out. Not saying they're not great, but facing the Kansas City Chiefs in Germany, after the Chiefs just took a very embarrassing loss to the Denver Broncos.
There's just nothing wrong with the Chiefs.
I agree.
Patrick Mahomes had the flu. Like they said, he wasn't feeling well on Saturday night. And then Sunday morning, they announced it. Unlike what Arthur Smith did with Bijan Robinson.
Yep, the migraines.
A couple of weeks ago, the Chiefs came out and said Pat Mahomes has the flu. So you couldn't expect a strong effort, from him, in that realm. So now, listen, this is Miami. This is a big game. This is this could be like a potential AFC championship matchup right now. And it's in Germany, and there's schnitzel and spätzle and bratwurst and also sauerkraut and Bavarian style pretzels and all the delicious beer that you have there.
Yeah, I didn't find the food in Germany to be my favorite. The
Oh,
pretzels,
because
yes. The
you're not a
sweets.
fat person. If you were a fat person, you'd be like, this is the best freaking country ever.
It's a lot of very heavy food. There's no
Yes.
doubt about it. It's a lot of very heavy food. Byron has a question. Great to see you in here, Byron. Thanks for joining. Start Trevor Lawrence or Tua?
Oh, I'm gonna start Tua no matter what. I mean, it's
Okay.
just, I mean, you've got Tyreek Hill revenge game narrative against the Chiefs. Come on. Come on.
We talked a bit about the Las Vegas Raiders and the blow up that is the Las Vegas Raiders. They are playing at home this weekend. They are facing the New York Giants. Is this a game the Giants can win, or is this the game that the Raiders go out there and play their best game of the season?
You know, it's kind of funny here because and I've got the numbers. Let me pull up these exact numbers here, Lisa Ann, because
Please.
I want to
Thank
make
you.
sure that I get this 100% correct. Because there's a lot of percentages in here, a lot of percentages. Yeah, see, I've got to find the right sheet. So here's the deal. When a team fires their coach mid-season, all right, the players end up in two different scenarios, right? The players either like they love the coach, they supported the, oh look, somebody erased it already from there. Unbelievable. So when they fire the coach, the coach is like, the players are either like they love the coach, so they want to win one for the coach that you fired, right? Or if they hated the coach, like Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs clearly did, then they want to like give
Go
that
out there,
extra
yeah.
oomph and say, see, look, you fired the coach and look at how great we are right now.
Right.
So that's what happens. Teams who fire their coach, I think there were 32 teams who fired their coach. So the numbers might be slightly off here, but the gist of it is teams that fire their coach midseason, there were 32 teams who fired their coach midseason as of, I believe, October of last year.
Okay.
All right. The following game, the teams went 15-17 straight up, and they went 17-15 against the spread. Now,
Okay.
those numbers aren't like eye-popping by any means, but when you realize that the teams that went, 15-17 straight up, they had like a 28% winning percentage before that game. So going from a 28% winning percentage to like a 15 of 17 is like a 48% winning percentage. That's a big jump. And then against the spread, they had a 36% chance. They had a 36% success rate play against the spread going into the coach then gets fired, and then boom, 17-15. So that's over 50%. So give me the Raiders. The long and the short of it here is give me the Raiders minus the points. I don't care what the spread is. I bet it when I saw it at -1. It's now at -1.5. I'm fine with that too. More money's going to come in on the Raiders now because of this firing. So this is like a bet it now kind of a thing.
To remind us all of the bye weeks this week, Denver, Detroit, San Fran, and Jacksonville. So Byron just answered his own question. He's like, you know what? It's got to be Tua. Lawrence is on a bye week this week. I appreciate that. Yes, it's got to be Tua. That would be sad for New York Giants fans because up until everything that happened in the past 24 hours, I think they finally looked at this as a game. This is our get right game of the season. We're going to go out there and win. It's the Raiders. They're awful. And now they're like, well, we're afraid because this is the new Raiders and we don't know what to expect.
My darling bride is not excited about this team. This game because I told her about when teams fire their coach.
Why did you have to do that to her? Why couldn't you just let her be in her little fog and thinking that possibly this was All right, let's talk about a game that our friend Scott in the room is really excited about, and it's the Sunday night game, the Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals. This is a big game, and Joe Burrow has just started to step on the gas. this is going to be a high scoring game. Do you think this will end up being the highest scoring game of the weekend?
Do I think it'd be the highest scoring game of the weekend? Yeah, no, I don't think Buffalo. I feel like Miami, Kansas City will probably be the highest scoring game. Like that's got a 50.5 over under. I kind of like that. I do like this Buffalo Cincinnati matchup, but I feel like these teams are going to play each other a little tighter. You know, I don't love Buffalo's team. I mean, I don't love the secondary for Cincinnati, but I don't love that Buffalo really. They've got Stephon Diggs and maybe
Gabe
Dalton
Davis.
Kincaid.
And Gabe Davis.
Yeah, but he's so inconsistent from week to week. Like, how do you trust Gabe Davis?
Okay, so you say this and it's funny, but I have him in quite a few leagues because I held on to him, get through bye weeks, these types of things, right? But in your leagues where you have better options, he's on your bench. When your leagues, you got to play him due to injury, whatever, you play him. And it was such a bummer last week because he put up monster points on the bench in the leagues. But like you said, he's so inconsistent. And so you make the decision. It's very like case sensitive. You never want to play Gabe Davis. Even though he's on your team, you never feel good about hitting, yes, this is the choice I'm making right now.
You really
Right?
want to start rethinking your choices. Yes, 100%.
You do. You want to start rethinking it, just like we have 2 minutes and 10 seconds left because I have the timer going. So let's do this. Let's thank Lori, Brian Burns' mom, for making this possible, that we have this great rapport with the greatest producer, and thank Brian for being in here. Let's also remind everybody to go over and follow Underdog Fantasy. Also follow Profit Exchange. I did tag them on a post, so you have spelling issues like me, you can go to my IG and just hit the little thing there and you'll see it pop up. Don't worry about it, okay? Spelling, just, everything spells for us now. It's funny because TikTok is the only app that doesn't autocorrect spelling. And so you have to actually think about it. Every other app, you put a couple of the words in it, and if you spell it wrong, it gives you the, TikTok just lets you be a fool, which is foolish. And for everyone else, you're following at Bettor Network. You're also following at Fantasy Alarm. And I do want to remind you to make sure that you go over to Fantasy Alarm and get access to everything that Fantasy Alarm offers all year. Go all pro now and save an extra $100 when you unlock all access. All you got to do is use promo code LOCK at fantasyalarm.com/lock. Howard, I'm going to miss you. I will tell all the kangaroos that I see hello for you.
Don't fight any of them. I see those videos. That's not good.
They are fierce. They are fierce. I've had many run-ins with the roos, and they are fierce, but I'm fiercer because I'm fast and I can run, okay? And I'm ready. Hopefully get to say hello to some koalas, but I will miss all of you. Howard will still be here. I will be back the following week. Enjoy the games. Thank you, Maddie D, for being in here. Thank you to all of you in here in the chat. Lori just sent a heart, like love emoji. Enjoy the games this weekend. Get your Fantasy Alarm. Lisa Ann and Howard Bender right here signing off for Lisa Ann Does Fantasy Bettor on the Bettor Network, as well as Fantasy Alarm. Have a great night.